need a Florida First tax package that will reduce the number one tax that is hurting Floridians, which is property tax.
If you want to get it from a sales tax, well, then it's really going to disproportionately hurt the lower income.
Florida just shot itself in the foot, and it's costing real estate investors big time.
The governor of Florida is falling apart as buyers turn their backs on South Florida homes. Guess what? All that sunshine couldn't keep the storm clouds away. Who knew the state's paradise would crumble faster than a sandcastle in a hurricane?
The biggest mortgage collapse in U.S. history just got even worse here in September 2025. The demand to buy houses is way down. It's down by 30 or 40%.
Well, Florida, the place where everyone goes to retire, or, in recent years, to escape the freezing cold of the north, where the sun is always shining. The palm trees are always swaying, and every day feels like a vacation. Except, spoiler alert, it's not. It's not all beaches and vacation vibes. In fact, there's a real storm brewing. And no, I'm not talking about the weather. I'm talking about the Florida housing market, and let me tell you, it's a mess.
So Florida has been one of the hottest markets in the country for years. People have been flocking there for the sunshine, for the low taxes, and of course for the lifestyle. But the tide now is starting to turn, and not necessarily in a good way.
The state's housing market was supposed to be unstoppable. The governor, Ron DeSantis, was saying that Florida was paradise on the rise. Everything was great, right? I mean, in 2021, South Florida was the finish line for America's Great Migration. Nearly 330,000 new residents moved in, swapping snow for sand. By the end of 2021, Florida's population hit 22 million. Miami-Dade and Palm Beach counties were growing rapidly. Home prices? Oh, they were absolutely soaring. Imagine this. A house in Boca Raton, just a modest 3-bedroom, went from selling for $480,000 in 2019 to almost double that, at $975,000 by 2022. Yeah, you heard me? A 100% increase. Realtors were fielding offers sight unseen. People were buying houses from out of state without even visiting. Bidding wars were happening left, right, and center. The governor was on TV making sure everyone knew how great Florida was doing, talking about job growth, record home values, and migration, as if the state was about to become the new American dream capital.
Florida's experiencing a housing crash, and home sellers can't give their houses away. Price cuts are happening. Some cuts are even taking sellers back to 2019 prices when they originally bought the house, and it's crickets. Home buyers seem to have put their foot down. They're not pulling a trigger for whatever reason.
But here's the thing that no one was talking about: the cracks were starting to show. For locals, the rising insurance premiums were a real problem. Home prices may have been going up, but so were the monthly payments. Home insurance in Miami-Dade was averaging over $6,000 per year. By 2024, double the national average. Oh, and that's not counting the closing costs, which were climbing higher than anyone expected. So, while buyers were rushing in, some locals were getting priced out of their own neighborhoods. Talk about a great deal, right?
The local municipalities are now also hiking the property taxes, especially in hot areas like Miami-Dade County, Tampa, and Orlando. And why? Because the state's growth hasn't been able to keep up with its current infrastructure, and somebody has to pay that. And the only person that can pay that now, of course, are the people that actually own real estate.
But even though the local market was starting to feel the squeeze, the headlines stayed bright. DeSantis kept doubling down on the Florida's boom is built to last rhetoric. Everything was fine, right? Well, no, not even close. The reality was, behind those glossy listings and perfect Instagram photos, Florida was running out of ways to keep the magic going.
So when you look at these numbers, you're getting the massive area. Now, the numbers, the percentage differences are the same in all the MLSs, just the amount of the numbers change because of the volume of land and properties in the area. So this one here shows you in the last 7 days, there's been 10,343 new listings.
The insurance market, for example, was falling apart. By the summer of 2025, more than 1.3 million homes were covered by the state-run Citizens Property Insurance. That's almost 1 in 8 homes in the state. And why? Because private insurance carriers were dropping like flies. 6 insurance carriers have failed in Florida since 2022, leaving hundreds of thousands of homeowners scrambling to find coverage as hurricane season loomed. And even if you could get insurance, good luck affording it. For some, insurance premiums were higher than the property taxes on their homes. And we all know what happens when insurance companies start pulling out. Everyone's risk gets shared, and that means premiums are going up, up, and up.
Cheaper homeowners insurance as a result of a replacement value being less because the home values are less. And on top of that, they would like the cheap mortgage rate as well.
Oh, and let's not forget about the lawsuits. Florida accounts for nearly 80% of all homeowners insurance lawsuits in the country. That's right, 80%. And what does that mean? Fewer options, higher bills, and a growing sense of, well, anxiety. But sure, everything's great. Right, Governor DeSantis? Then, of course, there's the mortgage math. If you were lucky enough to buy a home in 2022, congratulations. You might be facing mortgage payments that are double what they would have been just a few years ago. A 30-year fixed loan on a median-priced home in South Florida is now over $2,100 a month. And this extra $1,100, well, it's not just a little bump. It's the difference between qualifying for a starter home or being locked out entirely. You know, basic adulting stuff.
But the mortgage demand is now pulling back at the exact time when mortgage rates are going down. And this is a problem for the housing market, because if we take a look at the historical mortgage purchase demand in the market, you can see where we're at today on the mortgage application demand is down about 40% from the pre-pandemic norm, and it's down 55% from the pandemic peak.
Now let's talk about the unsold homes piling up like a sad pile of unsold t-shirts at a clearance sale. Nearly 41,000 homes in the Tri-County area alone were sitting unsold in 2025. That's up 61% from last year. Pending sales were down 11% in the first quarter of 2025. If you're a seller who bought at the peak in 2022, well, you have a tough decision. Lower the price, offer cash at closing, or watch your equity vanish into thin air. Oh, and if you were hoping for a quick sale, the average time a home sat on the market was 60 days. That's 2 whole months of for sale signs hanging on the front lawn. You could get a part-time job, learn a new language, and take a vacation at that time, but selling a house? Not so much.
Stone. For the past 3 months, Florida has averaged 180,000 homes for sale. That's the largest number in state history.
And whether it's the high cost of insurance, moving after hurricanes, or rising condo fees, more people than ever before are trying to sell.
But as 10 Tampa Bay News reporter Chris Hurst explains now, it's no longer a seller's market.
So, yeah, the market's fragile. And guess what happened when Hurricane Erin started swirling off the coast in 2025? Panic. Buyers started backing out fast. Cancellations in Fort Lauderdale jumped to 21.3% in July 2025, which was the highest cancellation rate in the country. Miami and Tampa weren't far behind. And what was the reason? A little storm called Erin, which didn't even make landfall. Just the threat of it was enough to freeze the market. You know, because a few hundred miles of coastline and some strong winds are totally enough to make people rethink their life choices and cancel a deal.
And if you look at some of the numbers, dude, there's over 2,000 cancellations in the last 7 days on listings. Cancellations means that they're releasing the sellers, you know.
Well, let's
from
pull
the
that
deals,
up. I
and
know
that's a
you
lot.
sent.
And that's when it hit. The Florida market was being held together with nothing more than wishful thinking, some insurance gimmicks, and a whole lot of empty promises. The market was paralyzed by a forecast. Imagine being a home buyer, about to drop $500,000 on a house, and then seeing a tropical storm swirling in your direction. What do? Do you stick with your purchase? Or do you walk away and wait for the next one to hit? Yeah, you'd probably walk away too. That's when Governor DeSantis proposed an unprecedented plan to get rid of property taxes altogether for homesteaded owners. What a solution, right? If your house is losing value and your insurance is skyrocketing, just don't pay taxes on it. Genius. He even went as far as proposing $1,000 rebate checks for homeowners and pushing a constitutional amendment to eliminate property taxes. Because, that'll solve the fact that nobody wants to buy a house in Florida right now.
On the surface, eliminating property taxes may seem like a great idea, right? No one wants to pay thousands of dollars each year to live in a home they already own.
Naturally, not everyone was impressed. House Speaker Daniel Perez, a guy with zero sense of humor, called it a fake refund and accused DeSantis of chasing headlines rather than coming up with a real solution. But DeSantis wasn't having it. He vetoed $1 million for a property tax study and dismissed the committee investigating the issue as a dog and pony show. Classic. But hey, when the going gets tough, you make a grand political gesture, right? The real question is, will this magical tax rebate save the housing market, or will it just delay the inevitable? Especially since institutional investors like Blackstone were already pulling out in 2025. They unloaded over $1 billion in properties across South Florida. Homes that were bought for $490,000 in 2022 were suddenly being sold for $360,000. That's a 27% loss. Orlando Regional Realtor Association President Lawrence Bolito says that.
Buying a house in Florida be like,
in 5, 6, 7, 8, I'm about to spend all of my money.
Welcome to a Florida Minute, where I give you just around a minute of the news you missed this morning, because very much something is always happening in the Sunshine State. So although Florida has the most empty homes and the most homes for sale in the country, prices are actually up from last year. And while sales are down from last year, they're up month to month, meaning that rising costs are not stopping people from buying. Orlando Regional Realtor Association President Lawrence Bolito says that as long as homes are selling and people have options, the market is healthy and still desirable.
We should see some type of price drop. There is going to be a couple adjustments to pricing, but surprisingly enough, the homes that I've sold with customers, the homes are coming in at a higher appraised value. So they're maintaining their value.
The exodus was clear. Blackstone's decision to retreat from the state made it crystal clear. The math doesn't work anymore. The skyrocketing insurance premiums, the insane property taxes, and the ever-growing instability made Florida a less than appealing place to invest. And that's why even New Yorkers and Chicagoans, who were once flocking to Florida, started to hesitate. They saw the price cuts, and they knew something wasn't right.
We have buyers that were looking in, say, the $300,000 market. They have a lot more to choose from now.
So here we are in 2025 with Florida's housing market in serious trouble. The migration numbers falling, the prices dropping, the insurance through the roof. And the governor? Well, he's just trying to figure out how to hold it all together with a tax cut and some good old-fashioned optimism.
Florida lawmakers wanted to commission $1 million study on how local governments use property tax revenue and what would happen if that's reduced. Governor DeSantis vetoed that study in the state budget.
It's safe to say, the Sunshine State isn't looking so sunny right now. Maybe the next storm will blow through and shake things up, or maybe this one's the real deal. But for now, paradise might just be a little more fragile than we thought.